MicroStrategy has the optionality to do buybacks at a certain point, right? Like, let's say either Bitcoin becomes very illiquid and inaccessible on exchanges in large quantities. I think there's always going to be a tradable market for Bitcoin, but it might just be very, very small quantities that you can get in a day or a week or a month.
Welcome back to the channel. It's Aaron from the Bitcoin Bros coming back at you with another video today. Subscribe for more. We have new Bitcoin, crypto, MicroStrategy videos coming out every single day. That was Ryan from the Quant Bros, and that's an interview he did from a while ago, but I wanted to bring it back up because there's a lot more new people coming into MicroStrategy, and I think he has a really good case for the long-term bullishness of MicroStrategy. So stay tuned for that clip. Let's get into some MSTR news here quickly. We can see in December, we have some pretty big catalysts that are coming up. We have the announcement for the QQQ inclusion. That'll be on December 13th. So that's the QQQ saying that MicroStrategy will be included in the NASDAQ 100. And then we get the reconstitution on December 20th. That's when MicroStrategy will be allocated the funds that they'll be allocated based on their ranking in the QQQ. And that's something we've talked about in some of our previous videos. You can check those out if you don't know about that. But a lot of big catalysts coming in December. We also have the Microsoft shareholder vote on putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We know that MicroStrategy just acquired 15,000 more BTC, probably more Bitcoin being acquired coming later this month. So stay tuned for that. But outside of that, make sure to check out our Patreon. We're building an exclusive private community over there. We give you guys premium alpha, and it helps out the channel if you guys decide to join, or if you guys just want to join and support the channel, you can click the join button right next to the subscribe button. Anything helps out the channel. Like we say, guys, we just enjoy making these videos. We don't make a lot of money from doing any of this, so you guys can check that out. And also, you can sign up with MooMoo if you guys need a brokerage to trade MicroStrategy, options, any of their stock, or even crypto, Bitcoin. You can do that on MooMoo, and you get 15 free stocks. And those stocks could be valued each one up to $2,000. So make sure to check that out if you guys want to. But let's go ahead and get into everything Ryan's going to be talking about in today's video. Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
The saylor premium and the saylor phenomena, and having him as the lead spokesperson of Bitcoin, plus the fact that a lot of traditional asset managers would prefer an equity. And I think a lot of traditional asset managers or VC, venture capitalist types, or, just old school investors, they're going to see this guy on a video at some point if they haven't already discovered him. And they're going to be looking around at their colleagues like, this guy has a stock. Why were we not in this 2 years ago? So I think Saylor's worth 3 points by himself. I think the convertible bond market / ability to sell shares at the money is worth 3 or 4 points right there. I think the monopoly ownership of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy has in a lead that I don't think they'll ever be caught. I think that's worth 3 to 4 points. And then so we're already like in the 10 ballpark there. And I could keep going with even smaller, more nuanced things, right? Like, IBIT is never going to join the S&P 500. It's never going to join the NASDAQ 100. It's never going to benefit from a change in FASB fair value. It's not going in the all country world index, right? And so I think all of those obvious advantages that are tilted towards MicroStrategy are worth a few points. Also, there's no fees to hold MicroStrategy, so maybe that's worth like half a point or something. But the key thing I think with MNAV, as far as like trajectory and where it goes or where it's going to stay, I think it's going to be a volatile ride, right? Like, I think all too often people think in terms of like equilibrium, or like once we get past this FOMC meeting or this CPI report or this jobs report or this down month historically for Bitcoin, then the coast will be clear and everything will settle out and volatility will, subside. But I just don't think that's the case. I think we live in like a constant state of boom bust cycles, a la George Soros. And I think, MicroStrategy is as volatile as they come. I think that price is going to, drift up into the right. right? I think that's perhaps even more important than where MNAV goes. But yeah, this MNAV discussion is going to be with us for some time. It was either like the Swiss bank or the Finland bank had acquired MicroStrategy stock, and that was definitely not something that I would have predicted or had on my bingo card, as they say. And then when you combine that with the other known personnel on the cap table, so to speak. I mean, we're talking about George Soros, the guy who wrote the book on reflexivity. We're talking about Ricardo Salinas, one of the richest people in Mexico, huge Bitcoin bull. We're talking about, Adam Back, who probably doesn't need much of an introduction, a hardcore computer scientist, essentially invented the proof of work consensus mechanism. You're talking about Samson Mao, one of the biggest bulls on the street. And there's a couple other well-known names in there, but you combine that with the fact that central banks are buying Bitcoin. And then you can even combine that with the fact that Saylor's never sold shares from his core equity position. Never. I've looked hard for this, can't find anything. What he did earlier this year was, exercising an options award that he was granted in 2014, which he probably would have let expire worthless had, they never taken the Bitcoin journey. And as he said, he would have retired into obscurity. So between the nation states, between the heavy hitting, well-known investors, between Saylor having no clear intentions of ever selling from his core position, I think the cap table of MicroStrategy ownership is remarkably strong and is on a path to get even stronger. I think the writing's on the wall that MSTR is going to report on a FASB fair value accounting standard for Q1 of 2025. The only 2 points that would have made sense would have either been, at MSTR World this year when they were either first eligible or just maintain that time optionality to get clarity on like who's going to win the election, because that's going to have implications on like what could a potential tax policy look like. So it really only made sense to either be, first to market or just maintain the optionality of time to just gather more information before switching. Plus, the other good thing there is that if we have a materially higher Bitcoin price, or even just higher by 50, 60, 70% than we would have had at the end of Q1 of this year, that's going to make the post FASB impacts even larger, because it's clearly a function of the price of Bitcoin. That I think this will be a more dramatic, just vertically ripping higher in terms of net income for MicroStrategy versus what Tesla had in 2020 and 2021, because I think we're going to go from a gap of a number that's basically around zero on net income for MicroStrategy to a number that could be 9 billion or 10 billion in net income in one quarter. Could be a little bit off there, and of course it also depends on the price of Bitcoin.